To start out with a brief grading of their regular season, it's an easy A plus, no doubt about it. The only thing that would have made it better is if Mitchell would have played, I think, at just a slightly higher level because he was great, no doubt, but his production was down a bit, and that was largely to allow for greater production from Garland and Mobley and others as well. But yeah, it's not enough to impact the grade. It was a complete success getting the number 1 seed in the East, and, a lot of years Boston is gonna get the number 1 seed because they're just a great team that's really deep as well. So, for Cleveland, the regular season, perfect, basically. Nobody expected this level of dominance from them in the regular season, but as for the playoffs, which matters oh so much more, it was a bit rough. Obviously, injuries played a part. Garland missing half of the series against Indiana, that hurt them a good deal. Hunter missing a third of the series, that's impactful as well. Garland really was not the same, and same for Hunter, actually. They were not the same when they were playing. They were not very productive. It's very disappointing, though, because during the regular season, which isn't a one-to-one for the playoffs, but Cleveland against great teams, so top 10 in point differential, they ranked 3rd in net rating, which was just tier 1 type of stuff right behind OKC and Boston. And Indiana was 7th. They were okay. There was a big difference between number 3 and number 7, even if numerically it doesn't sound too big. Indiana had a 0 point differential. The Cavs were solidly positive. I forget exactly what it was, but it was a reasonable number. Like, I think it was around 5 positive, maybe even a little bit more. But it's somewhere in that area. So it was way better than what the Pacers had. Going into the series, I saw a world where the Cavs won in 5, honestly. So to lose in 5 is very wild. The Cavs, to me, were just superior to the Pacers and able to play their game, but also a little bit more because with their two bigs for the Cavs, they had an element that the Pacers didn't really have. And, Mitchell and Halliburton are very different in how they get things done, but the offense was going through guards very heavily. Halliburton to Garland, I think, is actually pretty similar. Halliburton's the better version of Garland, but things were pretty similar in that regard. You have a true sort of point guard as much as exists in today's game for star point guards. And Cleveland was just on a complete tear. They were number 1 in offensive points per 100 versus top 10 teams. Indiana was 10th. Indiana was better on defense than they were on offense, believe it or not, versus top 10 teams per 100. Cleveland, there was some worry about the defense because Garland could definitely be attacked. And for as good as Hunter was for them, I always was a bit skeptical of him being the number 1 wing defender. I thought that was a bit of an issue because he's just a solid defender, but not great. And that did kind of bear out because against top 10 teams, the Cavs were 12th in defensive rating per 100. So, you know, not good, but still within the range to where you still can win the championship with that great offense. The Pacers, they had that tier 2 offense being ranked 10th, and they were 7th on defense. So they were very good, but not, you know, super elite. One thing that I thought really worked for the Pacers, or against the Pacers rather, was the fact that the Cavs played a lot less in transition. So with them being a slow paced team versus the Pacers being very fast, I thought when things slow down in the playoffs, which they always do, the Cavs are going to be better suited. Apparently not. So as for the players themselves, Donovan Mitchell, awesome, awesome stuff. He was entrusted to be basically everything for the team. He delivered, giving 34 points, a little bit lacking in efficiency with 55% true shooting, but I'll still take that when you're giving me 34. 57 or so is about right for a non center. So 55% is just a little bit below where you're hoping to be. So it's really not an issue. He was getting 2 offensive rebounds a game too. So he was getting it done in a lot of ways. The playmaking wasn't super great, 4 assists to 2 turnovers, but a lot of that was just he was the only guy that was making shots. So I don't really hold that against him. The thing that bothers me so much about this is Mitchell, in my eyes, was pretty clearly the best guy in this series, though the efficiency was a bit lacking, especially when compared to Halliburton and some of the other players, even for the Cavs, like Mobley. Halliburton had 67% true shooting, which is awesome, but Mitchell legitimately had double the points per game that Halliburton did. 34 for Mitchell, 17 for Halliburton, and Halliburton was 4th in points per game in this series behind Mobley and Siakam. Mobley and Siakam both had 18. So Mitchell was about double the points per game as anybody else in this series. When you have a great performance like that by Mitchell, I know Garland and Hunter dealing with injuries. Mobley missed a game, I believe. You got to do better than lose in 5. I don't care who it is. You got to do better than lose in 5. And particularly with the Pacers, I think I may have underrated them a little bit, but they're not this world beater of a team. They were very rough against Boston last year, and I don't think the team is too fundamentally different. They have a better defense now than they did last year by quite a substantial amount. But to get swept by Boston last year, be the only team that gets swept by Boston, in fact, I just don't see a world where you lose in 5 to the Pacers and feel any bit but very discouraged by the result, especially too because it wasn't like a matchup issue. The Pacers seemed like they could be had by the Cavs. They just seemed like a worse version of the Cavs, I think, in many ways. And the Cavs just did not deliver in any sense. Mobley, I'm a little bit encouraged, even though his scoring wasn't great with only 18 points a game. 69% true shooting, nice. That's also elite. Awesome stuff. So that's great. He had 4 offensive rebounds a game, which is absurd. The fact is, though, it just really fell off from there because Garland was not good at all. He was inefficient. He didn't score particularly much. He was turning the ball over as much as he was scoring. Jared Allen, he was great for what he does. Very efficient as he always is, getting you 2 offensive rebounds. Playing all right defense, not, I don't think, holding it down to an elite level, but playing all right defense. Hunter was very rough, only 9 points a game on 50% true shooting, not really doing much beyond that. I will give credit to the Pacers. I do think they deserve it. It was a very balanced approach from them. They had everybody seemingly getting, in the teens for points, but at the end of the day, the Cavs didn't lose because Halliburton went on a tear or even Siakam was at his best. Those guys shot efficiently. Basically, everybody did for the Pacers, but they just got outdid in basically every way for the Cavs. And that's very disheartening. So for the playoffs, I'm very disappointed in them. I think at a minimum, even though it might not sound the greatest of differences, I think you got to lose in at least 6 to the Pacers to have any sort of appreciation for the season, because this is a repeat of last year, really. Just completely doing nothing in the playoffs. And, again, with Mitchell, he was going full hero mode, going Superman, having some of the most ridiculous plays you'll ever see, just creating for himself and giving the Cavs a real chance in every single game. And nobody else stepped up like that for the Cavs or even close to that. So for the playoffs, I guess I give them like a C minus. The reason it's better than just like an F is because they do have the built-in excuse of having Garland and Hunter being damaged goods for this series, but I just expected a lot more. This team was super deep. You figured, if Garland goes down, Jerome could step up. Hunter was a bit irreplaceable, I think, because they didn't really have too many wing defenders and they didn't really have too many forward options. But Jerome was very disappointing. I didn't mention him. He was not good this series, basically at any level. He was getting blown by on defense, and he was not producing on offense to make up for it. So I'm very disappointed in the Cavs. There is still optimism because the regular season was so great, and you hope that, you get your guys back. Even if you just keep the same team, you can do much better in the next year's playoffs. But it's very disheartening to see the team just again crumble in the playoffs like this. And if anything, I think it's a bit worse because they lost to the Celtics last year, and I think 5 as well. And though they didn't have the same level of injuries last year, losing to Boston's a lot more respectable than losing to the Pacers, which isn't even too much of a dig against the Pacers. It's a little bit of one, but the Celtics were that good last year. And the Pacers this year, I think they're good, but I don't think they're great. So to lose in 5 is just unacceptable. And to get just completely outplayed like they did for basically everybody except for Mitchell, and Mobley did play better than Siakam, so there is that. But for the most part, it just was outplayed at every level for the Cavs. I would rather have Turner's performances than Allen's, even though Allen's was super efficient. So, yeah, basically everybody was getting outplayed for the Cavs. Those are my thoughts on the 2025 Cavs. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section. And also be sure to like and subscribe for more basketball and football content.